Hi, I'm Matt here in Michigan.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. Today, Matt and I are bringing you a review of the latest Disney Plus Marvel series and the first Disney Plus Marvel series, WandaVision. Just want to let you guys know that we will be getting into spoilers, so consider yourself warned. WandaVision stars Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Catherine Hahn, Tiana Paris, Josh Stamberg, Evan Peters, Kat Dennings, and Randall Park. It is created by Jac Schaeffer, who is also the writer of Timer, The Hustle, and the upcoming MCU movie Black Widow. But before we go any further, if you like these kinds of reviews and if you like this review, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and ring the bell icon so that way you always know when we're posting.
Now, WandaVision finds the two Avengers, Wanda and Vision, in a television show inspired world that's constantly changing. Our characters explore what's behind it and how it's affecting the inhabitants of the town of Westview. Now, this has 9 episodes, and so far it has received positive reviews from both critics and audiences. So, Randall, we've seen it. What do you think about WandaVision?
My first impressions of WandaVision are really positive. I think they did a lot of stuff good. But the more you start thinking about these kinds of movies and the MCU in general, the more you start wondering maybe there's some holes here. Maybe there's something they could have done better here or there. And that's, I think, what we're going to be talking about a lot. But Matt, what do you think about WandaVision?
So this was a pretty good series. I enjoyed the episodes. I don't think any episodes really stand out to me as like really good or really bad. It was a general like good show to like come to, once a week, to watch the new episode and stuff. So I enjoyed that part about it. And, we're talking about two Marvel characters that don't get, I don't think, like a ton of attention in all the other movies and stuff. And so to actually have a show that takes a little bit of backstory to look at these characters, I think definitely helps.
Yeah, and what really helps, in my opinion, is that it was spread out among nine, probably could have been 10 episodes, honestly, but the idea of a long form storytelling really worked to the advantage of what they were trying to get across instead of trying to shove this into a 2 hour movie or even a 3 hour movie, really. There's no hurry to get what we're trying to, get to the point. We just let these characters do their thing and let the story unfold as it's supposed to. So that really works in this, little chasm that is Disney Plus. I do hope that we don't see a season 2 of this, though. I want it to just be this like story, I don't want to see WandaVision season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. I want these kind of encapsulated stories. So we'll see if I get what I want or not.
Yeah, that's kind of like a plus and minus, I think, for me at the same time, too. One, we actually get to dive into Wanda and Vision's relationship a little bit more. In the movies, we're kind of like told and we're shown like a little bit enough just to keep that going. Here, we actually get to see them actually build a relationship. We get to see their struggles and we see, why they're a couple and stuff. So I think, that's good and stuff, too. And another thing too is, yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be just this one series. This is to add to the MCU, but at the same time too, if you're someone just coming into the show, I don't know if you really get into it too much unless you know a lot about the movies. So I think this is something that fits well with the MCU to go with the movies, but I don't know that WandaVision is going to be something that continues on.
So it's interesting that you say that this is something that if you haven't really seen the movies, you're not into it. And at this point, I 100% agree. The MCU is so big and so much has happened, and there's so many characters at this point where it is almost impossible to just have a new movie unless it's a prequel, that just stands alone. So obviously, we know Black Widow is going to be a prequel of sorts, but it still takes place in between existing MCU properties. This has to take place after Endgame, but before some of the other stuff that we're gonna see or have seen, like the ending of is it Captain Marvel? See, I can't even keep it straight. Wherever, maybe it's Ant-Man and the Wasp, where Nick Fury's off. Oh, you know what? Never mind. It's Spider-Man Homecoming. Jeez. See, there's so much going on. It's like if you're not keeping up, there's a lot in this series that makes no sense to you. You can't just pick it up.
Yep, totally agree. I mean, you have to know stuff that happened before to like kind of get into it, and at the same time too, with our ending, we're kind of setting up to other things. Like people are questioning, like, is this going to tie right into the next Doctor Strange movie? I mean, there's been rumors that that Scarlet Witch is gonna be in it, and I think it kind of goes on what I was talking about. Like the movies didn't really go into some of these characters, like Black Widow. She's in all these movies, but we didn't really go a whole lot into her background and stuff. And now, like you said, we're getting this prequel, Black Widow prequel, that actually does justice, or hopefully it does justice, to explaining more about that character. Because we've introduced so many different characters in the MCU that we've only focused on, certain ones. I mean, heck, some ones have gotten, 3 movies and stuff, and we're just getting to these other characters, their one focused storyline for the first time.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. The Black Widow movie is one of my upcoming things that I really want to see in theaters. Disney, hopefully not Disney Plus, but I'll watch it on Disney Plus if that's where they release it. Knowing that Black Widow's dead though does take a little bit off of it. I know it's a prequel, and it's like, okay, well, we're putting time and money into developing this character that no longer is relevant. That doesn't mean I'm not excited for it, but at the same time, I'm much more excited for these properties that are moving the franchises forward instead of looking backwards. And WandaVision definitely does that. Even though it leaves plot holes in its wake by doing so, we are definitely seeing a character, Monica Rambeau, who's the son of, Rambeau the pilot from Captain Marvel, that we are seeing characters set up so that way we can see them again later. And you said there's like rumors. As far as I know, it's been verified that Scarlet Witch is showing up in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Me, I'm always one of those people until I see it on screen or whatever. It's always with a green of salt. Even if they said like, yeah, I'm in this kind of thing. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it's cuts. Maybe it's like an after credit scene or something.
The thing is, like, I was hopeful, although only a shred of hope, that Doctor Strange was going to show up in this movie. In this show. But he didn't. I was hopeful that any other big name was going to show up in this. And then, we do get some fun characters in Kat Dennings' character coming back and Randall's character coming back, which is not me. Clearly I'm not the big name in this. Jimmy Woo, who is previously only seen in Ant-Man as his parole officer. So it's a fun thing to see these characters show up, and it's fun to see Wanda and it's fun to see Vision. But I have trouble believing this world that the MCU has made, like anything on this scale could possibly happen without some intervention by another Avenger. Just even one,
Yeah, we have that kind of introduction or whatever to Pietro, or the new Pietro, and for anyone who's seen the X-Men films, it's like, wait a minute, that is Quicksilver from the X-Men movie. So are we doing this multiverse thing, or what are we doing? The show tells you later they know it's just some other guy that they decided to make into Pietro to kind of throw Wanda off guard and stuff in this. But when that happened, I actually thought it was going to be an Avenger that shows up at the door. Because same with you. You would think that the Avengers would know that something not right's going on and would investigate it. Granted, I know they're probably trying to keep everything under wraps and the government agency sword or whatever, but yeah, you'd think the Avengers would be able to notice that and intervene a bit.
Yeah, just the idea of noticing that a giant, huge energy source that happens to match maybe the energy source of one of the Infinity Stones is happening on Earth. Yeah, I would expect the Avengers to know about it. I would expect them to know about it before Sword knows about it. And I don't even know what Sword is, by the way. I'm not a big enough comic fan to be like, oh, Sword, that makes any sense to me at all. Because it's not introduced any other time that I'm aware of within MCU. This is the first time that we've actually seen Sword, and you're just expected to understand it, I guess. Like the idea of sword and shields for like intelligence and defense, and swords for offense. But yeah, I didn't even like the portrayal of Sword. I just thought every single character that was part of Sword was just stupid.
But one thing I kind of want to talk about too is kind of like the structure of like this whole season. I was saying before, like there isn't really an episode that I liked or disliked in this one, but I think it was kind of interesting. We have kind of like 3 episode blocks, I would kind of say. Like every promo and trailer that we've seen has basically been laying out those first 3 episodes, where it's kind of like, oh, we're in this TV world where it kind of changes what decade we're in, like every episode, and there's kind of like this hidden, I don't want to say like X-Files, but there's something going on in the background, that's kind of mysterious. And then after that 3rd episode, we like completely change. It's not really about that at all. We're kind of revealed like, what is causing this TV show. It's kind of like Wanda and stuff. Another thing I want to get to too, like a lot of those character building stuff or like finding out about our main characters, Wanda and Vision, we don't actually get that until like the second to last episode. So we're kind of left throughout the show kind of like wondering about Wanda. Like, is Wanda really behind this? Like, what are Wanda's goals really about this? Like, we understand that she's getting over some trauma and stuff, but we really don't get that full reveal until the second to last episode. And it works for this show, but at the same time too, for me, it kind of took a little bit away from Wanda throughout the show, at least for me, because I didn't really quite know how to feel about her.
Hey, it works for every single Netflix show, so why not? When I talk about the Netflix formula and how tired of it I am, WandaVision does the same thing, where it's like, hey, we're telling this complex and interesting storyline, but we're not going to give you enough hints, and then in the last episode or the last 2 episodes, we're just going to dump it on you. Oh, okay, it all makes sense now. Instead of letting the story unfold in a logical way, it's like, nah, everything's going to remain a mystery until exactly when we want you to know about it. And it's like, well, sometimes the audience benefits from knowing things that other characters don't know. How interesting would it have been, and how much intensity could you have had, or drama between Agnes's character and Wanda's character, if the audience knew that Agnes was, Agatha Harkness, this not necessarily evil, but kind of portrayed as evil witch. Every time she's on screen, the audience would know, but Wanda wouldn't know. And the audience could maybe feel that tension and that drama as it bubbles up. But no, instead they keep it a secret until they reveal it, and they reveal it in a fantastic way. I'm not gonna deny that was fun to watch, but from an audience perspective, it's just like, oh, okay, now you're just gonna exposition dump on me everything. When if I had known, you could have ratcheted the tension up a lot for people watching the show.
Yeah, a lot of the formula, I think a lot of these are just kind of like, hey, let's just give like little hints, but keep everything vague so that fans can bring up all their theories and stuff.
You gotta get those Easter eggs in. Yeah, you gotta get those Easter eggs.
In. What in this movie like matters and stuff. Like, we put things in here on purpose, but we're not gonna explain why different things are in. And that's the thing too. I think that's how I feel at the end of watching this whole show. I think I have more questions about things than answers. And a great point you brought up at the beginning. I think this is one of those shows that the more that you think about it after watching it, the more holes you pick in it. Whereas I was just watching it, I was just enjoying watching like each little episode thing. So in that case, I think it does its job. But in the greater MCU and stuff too, I guess it is just to like hook me into watching the other stuff.
Yes, don't forget that we made a name drop of the Sorcerer Supreme, and that she's supposed to be even stronger than him. Like, don't forget that. That could be important later. Don't forget this little tidbit that we left here and this little crumb that we left over here. Those are important for you to make your fan theories. One of the things that this show does do is leave a lot of loose ends. But they're loose ends on purpose, I think. They're loose ends left there specifically for fans to go and say, hey, I want to go make my own fan theory about what may happen, what could happen. We see Monica Rambeau start to understand that she has some powers and that she's very powerful. In fact, she can kind of like change how physics works as a sort of explainer. And that you don't know anything what happens with White Vision after he comes to the realization he gets his memories back. He gets, well, really, to be honest, Vision's memories back, but like his memories back, but not his, but kind of his, he just disappears. He's like, okay, I am Vision, and then he's off, and you never hear from him again. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but one string that they left that I am absolutely a fan of, and I think is great, it worked well for the Thor franchise, is that they didn't kill the antagonist. So Agatha is a witch that is super intelligent and super good at, figuring things out, and you have to know that she's going to find a way out of, the spell that was cast on her by Wanda. You don't just leave that character alive as a mundane character. She's going to figure out a way out. And to me, that's good. I want to see that. I want to see more of that in the MCU. Stop killing off your bad guys.
Honestly, I think Rambo was such a great character and stuff in the show. A lot of this show built up to build her into another show or another movie or something. I actually think they're probably going to do another show with Rambo in this. There's a lot of backstory and stuff that we kind of did in Captain Marvel, so we know there's some Captain Marvel connection, so maybe she's going to be a big character in an upcoming Captain Marvel film, or, to stand on her own. It was interesting, you're talking about the powers. It's like, does she still have them or not have them? Did she get it when she went into Westview? Like, when Westview went away, or at least the Wanda Westview went away, did she end up losing those powers, or does she still have them? Because that's the thing, Rambo in the comics, she's been, several different superheroes. I mean, she's been Captain Marvel, she's been, Photon and stuff or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with that character going forward. So that's the one I'm really interested in. Like I said, this show took a lot into building up that character.
Yeah, it's interesting that it took so much to build up that character, only to throw her away for all of the last 2 episodes, except for one or 2 scenes. And you're just like, oh, okay. Because you spent so much time on her. And she's an interesting character, and she's a new character that I expected her to do more, to kind of come into her powers a little bit more than she did. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me, but I am totally looking forward to whatever they do with her, because there's definitely this illusion of, hey, we're going to go talk to the big guy. The big guy is always, Nick Fury. I think that she probably still has her powers, because it's not Westview that gave her powers. It was the mutation of her DNA going through the barrier several times. Unlike everyone else who was hexed within the barrier, she just gets her powers because she went in, she went back out, she went back through, and there's obviously parallels there to Fantastic Four, which we know is coming. That being said, shame on Disney and Marvel for getting us all riled up about an astrophysicist friend of Monica's who's not named Richard Reed.
One of the things that we were talking about, Agatha being so great and such a great villain, our other villain is kind of like Sword and the director's Sword and stuff. That I did not like as much, especially, it's not really, I mean, they're kind of like an agitator stuff for a bit, but not really full villain until the last 2 episodes or so. I personally didn't like how that was pulled off as well as I did with Agatha. Agatha's a good villain and stuff. This is another one of those, another bad government agency thing. We haven't seen this in Marvel or other stuff, and yeah, it was awesome.
I wanted him to be maybe very smart and conniving bad guy of sorts, and they kind of maybe try and do that a little, but most of it's just him being stupid. Most of it's just what? Why would you even do that? You go in and you try and blow up Scarlet Witch. There is literally nothing about him that makes sense. Hey, let's go talk to this person who just helped save the world. No. Wanda's the bad guy. Wanda's needs to be taken out. We got to take her out so we can get to Vision. Blah blah blah. No. Everything he does is just so weird. And then you're like, oh, in reality he was doing this, and it's yeah, but I don't see him as smart enough to do that.
He definitely had a one-track mind. Everything was vision, vision, vision. I'm only gonna do things that service the point of getting Vision and getting Vision back online because he's the ultimate weapon kind of thing. honestly, I just wasn't interested in that at all.
And here's the thing: if we're talking plot holes, the more we think about this, the worse it's going to get. By the way, you're talking plot holes. How does Sword even get Vision's body? Seriously, I 100% serious. So when we last see Vision, he's in Wakanda, and the Mind Stone's been ripped out of his head by Thanos, and he's just dead body, body there, basically made of vibranium mostly. And it's like, okay, so Wakanda, what, dutifully handed over Vision to the U.S. government agency Sword? No, I don't believe that for a bit. I don't believe for a bit that the remaining Avengers would just let Vision's body be handed over to Sword. And Sword doesn't have the capabilities to go into Wakanda and force them to do what they want with Vision's body. So, like, it's there because it has to be, I guess, for the story to make sense. But that doesn't mean that it's makes sense from like a MCU perspective.
I mean, heck, Wanda could have just made her own Vision, because that's all Vision is that we find out. There's a lot of part of this saying like, oh well, Wanda like took his body and then like restored him, but that's not really what she did at all. She just created her own Vision from like the memories and feelings and stuff that she had with Vision to kind of put in, and that's where we get to the whole point where White Vision, he's kind of missing that stuff, and then Wanda's Vision kind of instills all that, or basically awakens that in transfer circuits or whatever that were blocking his memories to bring those memories back online and stuff for him. I honestly, I would have been happy without a lot of the Sword stuff and trying to delve in there. And granted, that's what kind of like is Sword behind this kind of thing? Is that one thing? And then it's kind of like, what are they really doing? And I don't know. I think a lot of it is probably to set up Rambo and, Rambo's bomb, the one, that basically was help start Sword and stuff. And it just kind of shows more of like her background. So sadly, I think we're going to see more of Sword probably moving forward, whether it be a Rambo series or movie or Captain Marvel stuff.
I just hope that they're written better. That's all. It's not Sword the Agency, although Sword the Agency is woefully underwritten in comparison to Shield. It's the way that the agents were written to just do dumb things. Like, come on, no one would do that in real life. or if they would, they'd be a lot smarter about it than these people were, So yeah, we're probably going to see Sword, and we're probably going to see White Vision. We have not seen the last of him. And I hope there's that the optimist in me. Don't get used to this, everybody. The optimist in Randall only comes out occasionally. That says that White Vision and Scarlet Witch can make this work, because that's like going right back to Infinity War, where they say, okay, well, what is Vision without the Mind Stone? Well, that's him right there. He's his experiences. This is his body. This is what Vision could have been if they had had time to take the Mind Stone completely out of him in Infinity War. He's here. I think that we're definitely going to see more of him, and I'm okay with that because Paul Bettany is just a wonderful, wonderful actor.
I totally agree. I think this show actually did a good job of kind of, like you're saying, getting more into that, like, what is Vision, what really is he? And, at the last episode when we say bye to, like, Wanda's Vision, that's, a big, I think one of the best emotional parts of this series was basically when Wanda, or when Vision asked Wanda, what am I? If I'm not the actual Vision or whatever, what am I? Like, kind of what is my purpose here kind of thing. So I think that's really good. I think it's real set up like that. But in general, I liked watching this as, each episode kind of thing as it was going on. But yeah, the more I think about this, the more holes I keep going on. And I'm kind of like, man, I don't really want to think about this too much more.
I don't want to overthink this superhero show, please. Well, you know what? The last thing I'm going to leave off on then is the amazing amount of Easter eggs that happen. There is one that sticks out to me. It stuck out like a sore thumb, and I absolutely loved it. Fake Pietro, played by Evan Peters, who plays, actual Pietro in the X-Men movies, Days of Future Past, and the really bad one with Apocalypse. He makes a Kick-Ass reference. And I'm like, ha! You made a Kick-Ass reference. All because, the Pietro from the MCU is Aaron Taylor Johnson, who played Kick-Ass. And I'm like, I can't believe you just made a Kick-Ass reference. I love it. But, that was 100% my favorite, scripted Easter egg that I caught. That is hilarious. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, Marvel's very conscious of their fans and stuff and different things that their fans are going to enjoy. And I love that we do have these little tidbits, whether it is, for people that are the comic book fans or people that are into just all around Marvel movies or Marvel TV shows and stuff. And I love that they're going out to different elms and even, movies and stuff that aren't necessarily with Marvel. I like that we have those callbacks in this show. And, generally, I looking on the whole, I enjoyed this show.
Yep, as a show, it definitely works well for me. It was fun to watch. I just wish that it maybe worked a little bit better inside of the greater MCU. Not that it doesn't, just that I expect, Avengers to show up when these things happen, and they didn't. So that was kind of weird. Matt and I have got tons of discussions just like this. We got show reviews, we got movie reviews, we got flashback movie reviews, we have call-up discussions. Make sure to check those out on our channel. We also have a Facebook page where we will always post the day before what's coming up on YouTube the next day. And we post videos on a schedule every Monday and Thursday, so you know when to expect some goodness. For now, I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone next time.
And I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a good day. Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.